lobby. Let's all go to the lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to Now Slaying, an It Slays podcast production where we break down the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I'm your not-so-humble host, Colton.
I'm Rowan.
And today on the show, we're going to be reviewing MaXXXine, which was released July 5th, 2024, exclusively in theaters. Rowan, I think we already all know the answer to this one, considering I think we covered both X and Pearl on the show, if I'm not mistaken, on Now Slaying. But would you consider yourself a fan of those films? And based off of that, were you looking forward to MaXXXine?
So I feel like if anyone listened to the Now Slayings, they would say I'm not. I think I gave them both like mediocre reviews. Although
okay.
I have said that my opinion of X, like I've seen it a couple more times, and I actually really enjoy it now. More so than I went in it the first time. And Pearl, I've never revisited, but I'm kind of worried now that I'm like, oh, maybe I need to revisit Pearl and maybe I'll like that one just like X. So, I appreciate Ty West. I appreciate like his love of horror films and his kind of love letters in his films to horror films of the past. So, I'd say I appreciate Ty West, maybe not as much as most people. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'd say I was looking forward to this one. I thought X was pretty great, if I remember correctly. I've only ever seen it once, but I remember I just loved the Texas Chainsaw throwback. I loved kind of the intermingling of the adult film world with like that grimy horror world and, all the alligator shit.
Oh, the alligator shit was...
Shit was great. Yeah, so I really enjoyed X. I remember being a little bit cooler on Pearl than a lot of people. I thought Pearl was like a great showpiece for Mia Goth, just kind of proving that like she's an excellent actress. A lot of people that were following her career closely would have known this from some other smaller movies she was in. A Cure for Wellness is one of the ones that pops to mind for me. I think I wrote about how great she was back in like 2017 in that movie, or at least about, how she had like this presence, this allure on screen, that she was just strange, enough that I would like point out in a review. But yeah, with MaXXXine, I think I saw the trailer once. It was the sort of thing everyone was freaking out on Twitter about it. So I was like, you know what? Or maybe it's suitable to call it X for this this review. But everyone was freaking out on it on Twitter about it. And I was like, you know what? I'll throw it on, see what all the hubbub's about. And, I remember thinking like, yeah, that looks fun. I'm in. Obviously, I'm here once again wearing an A24 shirt, talking about an A24 movie, bonafide fanboy. Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing what this was all about. And I'm a big House of the Devil fan. Eventually, we're going to cover that on the main show. I keep bringing it up every couple of episodes. So, I wanted to see how Ty West would wrap this all up. So was MaXXXine a fitting conclusion to the X trilogy? Or... and maybe it goes on further, if saying a trilogy is a spoiler, I don't know. But before we get into that, let's toss it on over to the trailer.
MaXXXine, did you always want to be in this line of work?
I always wanted to be famous.
Want to hit a party tonight?
I'll be there.
You've heard of the Night Stalker, right?
The Night Stalker.
This killer's still out there.
And you're the common denominator.
The past ain't finished with you, Maxie.
Time to pay for your sins. Help me save the next girl's life. I intend to. Whole world's gonna know my name.
What you just heard is from MaXXXine, written and directed by Ty West, and the story is as follows. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minx finally gets her big break. But as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. Now, here on Now Slaying, we like to keep things relatively spoiler-free up front before getting into the more in-depth spoiler-filled discussion. So, Rowan, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on MaXXXine?
So I thought this was a pretty good attempt to mimic like a 80s film, which I thought was interesting for you, because I feel like you are pretty vocal about like stuff like Stranger Things and stuff that uses like this nostalgia 80s porn. Not porn legitimately, but like...
but yeah, just kind of like drenching everything in neon and putting like a synth score beneath it. But still having like this polish and prestige that didn't really exist in a lot of 80s movies. It kind of, It's not that I hate it. It's just a little bit overplayed at this point.
You know, I thought Ty West did a pretty good job from the fashion, like, to the music, to even like the filters he used. Although I will say, I guess like a positive with a negative, I thought he kind of played it like loose and fast with that, where there were scenes where I really felt I was watching like an 80s slasher or like an 80s like crime noir or something. And then then in the next scene, I would feel like, oh, this seems like really like up to date and recent.
I will agree that it wasn't really done with as much care as something like, let's say, like House of the Devil. Once again, just, shitting at that movie. This one kind of operates in a world where it's a little bit more surreal at times, which makes it feel a lot more modern and sleek. There's obviously a lot of grittiness and griminess to it. I think calling it like an 80s noir is pretty fitting for the most part. There was points at which for like long sections of this movie, I was like, I don't know if it really fits for even covering it on our show once again, where it's almost like where Pearl was more so of like a character study and like this unraveling of a character, and it was like almost like a throwback to stuff like Wizard of Oz. This felt like almost like a throwback to like, I don't know, Chinatown or something, but like where you're following Maxine Minx as the almost like the gumshoe detective, kind of just stumbling her way through all these murders.
I'm glad we're on the same wavelength of that, because the entire time, I'm sitting in the theater, it's like pretty full. I went to like a late show. I didn't think it was going to be full, but it was pretty full. And the whole time I was kind of thinking, I'm like, a lot of this is not really a horror movie whatsoever. Like we're really breaking the mold. Although what it reminded me a lot of, which we did cover, in the early years, was Cruising with Al Pacino, which was about, a gritty New York serial killer case, not the porn industry, but in like, the kink world and all that stuff. So some similarities, but I was like, yeah, like even that, when we did it, we were like, it's a serial killer, but it's really more of this like police procedural film in this noir lens. And that's really how I felt with this one. But I will say, like, the general vibes of it, the Rowan vibes, I was like, like I liked it. I liked the general vibes coming off of it. Like some kind of spoiler free like highlights for me was, I'm sure everyone automatically wants to go to Mia Goth. And mine was, my highlight was Moses Sumney, who played Leon, the video guy.
Oh, he was great.
And I just kept thinking to myself, like, can I get a spinoff? Can I just get a movie of Leon working in this video store? The video store was like amazing, where the whole back end is like a porn shop with like booths and everything, but it's also in the front just like this horror movie store. This guy just loves physical media, so I'm already rooting for him.
I think it even has like kink shit on the wall.
Oh yeah,
it literally sells like sex toys and smut and these porn VHS films, and then of course it's just a video store, and he's just chilling watching like horror movies all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, us from a horror podcast, I'm like, fuck yeah, the guy that knows everything about horror movies and everything that should go on. And then to me, another real standout was our boy Esposito, just rocking that wig. That wig was wild.
that wig was absolutely terrible. I wish Mike was on the show, which shame on Mike.
Shame.
Both Gill and Mike loved this movie. Both kind of gave me their word that they'd be on the podcast. I let them know well ahead of time we were angling to kind of record this evening, and then both of them dipped out. So I would have loved to hear Mike's thoughts on Giancarlo's wig, but I'll just say it was terrible. But also, kind of fitting of the character.
I thought Teddy Knight as a character was just so funny. I mean, and I can't forget Esquire. He's got Esquire in the name.
Yes. Please don't forget that.
And I thought it was just interesting. Like he was kind of funny, throughout. I don't know if he was meant to be exactly that funny, but just, what a perfect role for Esposito.
What did your audience think of the movie? There was lots of moments in this movie where I thought it was very tongue-in-cheek and was very silly. Were people laughing along with it, or were they kind of like out of on the joke? Like, in my theater, it was like half full. A lot of loners, which I kind of appreciate because I go to movies by myself all the time just 'cause my friends are sick of me wanting to see everything. So I just say, screw it, I'll go by myself. But lots of women sitting alone watching this one, just, there for MaXXXine.
Yeah.
But it was just quiet the whole time. Everyone was just kind of taking it in. I felt like the moments where it's supposed to be really like cheesy or hokey or kind of over the top, like a lot of people didn't seem like they were kind of getting the joke or laughing along with it. Like, I'm not crazy. There are moments in this movie that are supposed to be silly.
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my theater also like kind of quiet, which I guess is one of my criticisms of the movie is like I felt kind of confused, and I think the audience felt kind of confused because I think, as you know, we set this up when we talk about X and we talk in Pearl and stuff, like even with the character study of Pearl, it's still this character study of like, this like serial killer, this killer. And like this, it's just framed so weird that I think if you're coming in, like we said, with this like horror lens, it kind of just takes you aback that you're like, well, that really isn't what this is. And like you could tell in my audience that people were just kind of like, what? Like, I don't really... This isn't where I thought this was going. Because I will say, like, I saw the full trailers and stuff, and, I was like, oh, okay, so in the trailers, they talk about, like, the actual Night Stalker, like, from real life.
Which I'm weirdly not familiar with at all.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you watched, like, I know there's, like, a Netflix documentary and stuff about it. Are you familiar with the Night Stalker?
Yeah, I am super familiar with them, which, like, I mean... nutso, super into the satanic stuff, all that.
Like this sort of thing, like actually like branding people with pentagrams.
I don't know if
that
he
sort of
did
thing,
that,
like
but in real life, I mean, in real life, I think he targeted like a lot of older ladies. Like he go in like old ladies' homes and he would like beat them and rape them and like stuff like that. Yeah, seeing the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we're somehow going to have Night Stalker in this, but we're going to have MaXXXine in here killing and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I was just like, I think the twists and turns this takes just kind of throws you aback from what you're coming into.
You know what this kind of reminds me of now? Like this, the serial killer aspect mixing with Hollywood. Literally, Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
One of the big talking points leading into that movie was how is like Margot Robbie gonna factor into the Manson family and the Manson murders and all this sort of thing, and then how is Brad Pitt gonna factor in and Leo, and it kind of like forms this like it feels kind of realistic, but obviously it's in a universe of its own, and they kind of meld and bleed together and kind of muddle things a little bit, and that's kind of now in retrospect it's kind of bringing back memories of that movie. Weirdly enough, which once again is not a horror movie.
And, as much as it's not a horror movie, I will give it props. This had like some gnarly kills, some
good gore in it. Yes,
there was great
sure.
gore and stuff that you're like, oh shit, like this is something I've never seen.
Yeah, I will say the blood, maybe a little bit like too red or too orange, and I think there's even a moment in the movie where they point it out as like it's gratuitous, or this doesn't look right on camera, and then I almost thought like maybe Ty West was kind of leaning into that a little bit.
Yeah,
there was maybe one or two that looked really realistic, but other than that, I thought it was just like kind of over the top and almost like having fun with it, even though of course what we were seeing is pretty horrific at times, or will make you squeal a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean my other big thing was this is my like non-spoiler I guess, you get a little taste is I think about Mike. Whenever Mike hates a movie on the main show, he'd always you'd ask him what his favorite part was and he'd tell you the end and
the credits. I said that. I remember Neon Demon. I'll never live it down. I think it was Gill's first episode.
Yeah,
ever,
I think
was
so.
Like, my favorite part was the credits.
My favorite part of this, opening credits, and in a good way, where
they hit really well. I will say
they hit well. That this is the opening credit scene, which there's a whole scene that's very 80s for like a 80s movie. The needle drop of Give Me All Your Love. And although, can you even use that song and not think about the Santa Claus? I'm not 100% sure. I thought like the Santa Claus just owned the rights to ZZ Top for like the rest of natural existence. But
yeah, just eternity.
That needle drop in that opening credit scene, that's when I was like, I was like, this is what I'm in store for. Like, this literally looks like I turned on a Patrick Swayze 80s movie, or like a young Tom Cruise 80s movie, or like anything like that. And I was like, we're in for the ride.
Yeah, I felt that as well. I thought it was a very, I don't know, like fitting moment to like kind of almost like smash the credits to bring the music in. It was very much like, okay, this is Mia Goth's movie, or at least like she's owning it, which is what I really like. Like, this is a very big performance. Obviously, it's another like star making turn for Mia Goth if you don't think she's a star already. I will say, for me personally, I think she was better in Pearl. Obviously, very different performances, Pearl compared to this. But I just think Pearl, there are moments in it where you can literally take, a minute or two and this monologue or this character performance, or, just her breaking down. And I think it's very effective, where this feels very big, very Hollywood. And we've seen kind of this thing before. Not that we haven't seen a drama with like a woman living on a farm and kind of, missing her husband going off like in Pearl. But this was kind of like, when I was watching this, I was like, I feel like I've seen a lot of shades of this before. It's very fun to go along with it, seeing Mia Goth and, Maxine Minx obviously try and break into Hollywood. But a lot of it felt familiar to me. I liked a lot about it. I did think like a lot of the cinematography was interesting. I liked how kind of the opening shot, minor spoiler, is very reminiscent of X's opening shot, in kind of like a slightly different way, which I thought was cute. An interesting thing to me about this is that this is a sequel to obviously X, but it's weird because it almost feels like Pearl is just like almost like this forgotten like stepchild or something. Like this would have almost worked better if it just came out like a year after X almost, than, having Pearl, and Pearl could have been like down the road or something. Because when I was watching this, I was like, shit, I should have really rewatched X, because there was a lot of like little like, I think references or like little beats that I was probably missing as I was watching this, that they kind of just rear their head from X. So I wish I rewatched it. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen X and Pearl in a couple of years, and you haven't seen MaXXXine, I would say at least check out X before going to see this.
Yeah, 100%.
I think my recollection of Pearl was strong enough, but I wish I kind of rewatched X. But yeah, outside of that, I don't want to say like I was bored. Obviously I'm very busy right now. Like I'm like, I don't know, 6 or 7 days straight at work right now. So my mind's a little bit frazzled. It's hard to get out of that work vibe. But I will say there was moments in this movie where I was completely engrossed, and then there was other moments where like my mind was wandering, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta text that, or like, oh shit, I gotta make a reminder in my phone for that tomorrow, or and I'm not taking out my phone in the theater, but it's like the movie kind of like its spell is wearing off on me at moments. There were moments where I was like watching Maxine walk, and it's a very, dazzling shot of her walking, through all these different sets, or, we're following her for, a good 30-40 seconds as she's going along, and we're cutting to all these different shots and whatnot. And I kind of just lose track of like, oh, where are we going, or what are we doing? Or like, oh, okay, we're here now. Just because, for whatever reason, the spell was broken at times. And maybe that's because it is more of a noir in a certain way than like a straight up horror movie. Maybe it's just because the pacing was a little bit, bumpy at times. But all in all, I still thought it was pretty solid. I have seen polarized reviews of this movie. I have seen, I think one of the most popular reviewers on Letterboxd gave this like a 1. And, then we got Gill on the podcast giving this thing a 5. So, the people love or hate MaXXXine is what I've been learning. I don't know if I really have anything else to say about this spoiler free. I think we kind of like hashed it out a little bit. Is there anything you want to say? Like, would you recommend going and see this in theaters, or anything you got to get off your chest? You want to, dunk on a little bit more?
Honestly, to me, I'd probably recommend seeing it in the theater. Like, I can't even really think about it, and I only saw this yesterday. Full disclosure, I saw this, I was running on like 3 hours sleep. And talk about a schlag. Before I saw MaXXXine, I saw Kinds of Kindness immediately before. So I had just sat through like a 3-hour long movie and then went directly into MaXXXine.
Just sidebar, did you like Kinds of Kindness?
I was all right. It was
Okay,
it was
all right.
I thought it was like old Yorgos that people like the people in my theater thought they were coming the Poor Things, and it was
and they got Dogtooth. Or
yeah,
the
it was like,
Lobster
oh,
instead.
you don't understand what other movies this guy's made,
Fair.
and yeah, it's bizarre. I don't think it overly works, but
I'm hoping it comes to theaters here, so I can at least check it out. But yeah, back to MaXXXine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to know.
But yeah, so basically, yeah, coming right at like the minute Kinds of Kindness finish, I had to come right in the MaXXXine and sat down, and I'm like, how long is this movie? And I'm like, oh shit, this one's like another like 2 hours, and
No, it's an hour 44.
oh gee,
I will
well,
say it
that
feels
could be-
long for an hour 44, but
I could have been tired. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a good time. Like I said, the needle drops I thought were pretty good. Lots of fun 80s music in it that I'm like, fuck yeah. And like I said, the intro just had me ready to rock. I think there's enough gnarly gore and stuff that like I think you'll get a fix out of it that you're like, I'm glad I saw this on the big screen, and like those kind of shocking moments. So I mean, you know, I kind of was comparing it on the ride home from seeing it to like just thinking about like everything else I've seen for Now Slain so far this year. And you know what? Like, this is better than a lot of it. I'm not going into like this isn't First Omen territory, but like, it's serviceable, so I don't think you're wasting your money. What about, you already said, didn't you? I don't know.
I don't think I said, but, you know, I would recommend it as well to go check it out in theaters, mostly just because, of course, it's A24. They need your money, you know.
Colton's contractually obligated to at least mention that once.
You have to buy their $40 t-shirts and then ship them to you for like another $25. You have to. But yeah, I mean, I'd recommend going to see it. I mean, people that are fans of the show probably want to see, you know, the third movie with Maxine Minx. You know, you've heard it's not like a traditional horror movie, but it still has those bouts of gore that you want to see from like one of these X movies. Obviously, Mia Goth is great in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, there is still kind of like this 80s style that kind of comes and goes throughout that, you know, it kind of all comes together as like at least to be like an interesting vibe. I don't know if it's something that I would like rewatch very, you know, anytime soon. Similar to way like when I left Pearl, I was like, that was a really good performance by Mia Goth. A very good like showcase for her. But I don't know if it's something I need to rewatch. This was less so because it was like a showcase for her or anything. It was just more so the movie overall. I was like, I'm good. I you know, I left the movie. I was like, cool, that's over. Let's go record an episode about it. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think you should go check it out in theaters. Sure, let's make Maxine Minx a movie star. You know, so that's a recommendation from both of us to check this one out. And with that, I think it's time to cut to our spoiler discussion for MaXXXine. We are now in our spoiler discussion for MaXXXine, so if you've not seen MaXXXine, it's time to tune out and come back once you've seen the movie, or keep listening if you simply don't care. Rowan, you said before we started the episode, you know, off mic, that you never had very many spoiler-filled thoughts on this movie. Anything, you know, kind of like jumping to top of mind? Anything you want to shout out now?
I mean, I just want to start with what I think is, I mean, there's two possible, but I think is going to kind of become the iconic scene of this film. I'll be interested to see what you think. To me, it's got to be the car crush. Like, we didn't even mention in the spoiler-free section, Kevin Bacon in this, who I also love. Wild performance. Wild.
I think he was a lot of fun, yeah. I liked his, like, 2 gold teeth, and I liked how his face gets all cut up. She does I think the first time I saw it was, like, Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad, where, you know, he puts the keys between his fingers, you know, getting ready to fight.
Yeah.
You know, she keys him up real good. Yeah, I thought it was a fun scene. I was expecting Ty West to do a little bit more with it, though. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting, like, I don't know, something to shoot out through the window or something, you know, some gore to...
So I kind of thought the same thing. I thought when it lifted up, maybe the car would lift up a little and we get, like, a little more gore of the body, like, in the car.
Yeah.
Just pulverized or whatever. And... you know, like I said, I mean, it's between that, right, and the ball crushing. Those are going to be like the two icon scenes.
For me, weirdly enough, out of the kills, I think the one that was the most shocking to me was the suitcase going down the stairs.
Oh,
with all the different body parts falling out of it, and then I forget which actress it is, but she's like the lead of the Puritan. The Puritan. Too. Yeah, like Charlie Rowan McCain, apparently, I believe. But anyways, it was just like, you know, it's Maxine. She's kind of like backing up away from the villain of the movie, and, you know, knocks over the suitcase down the stairs. Just all these miscellaneous body parts start falling down the stairs, and then her head keeps bumping down, and it kind of like lands sideways on the movie poster, which I think is like similar to the way her face looks on the cover. I thought that was a cute moment. I guess what I'll say is the gore in this movie is somewhat memorable, at least, like, you know, the kills that are like around Maxine. Well, I mean, that's not quite right either, because I can recall the video store kill quite well as well. So yeah, maybe it's just all the gore in this movie is pretty memorable.
I was going to say, the suitcase, was that Lily Collins? I think it's Lily Collins, isn't it?
Was it Lily Collins?
I think so. I believe it's Lily Collins that was in the suitcase. I believe. Good. I had to think about it. Yeah. I mean,
it is Lily Collins. I'm wrong. It is Lily Collins. Yes.
Yeah. Jeez. Throw some respect on Lily Collins' name.
Who is this Charlie Rowan McCain girl?
She played young Maxine.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, she played Maxine as a kid.
Okay, well, Lily Collins, I thought that was very fun.
Very like Italian giallo or Italian horror. I thought like that nod, just like that grand, you know, luxurious staircase and the suitcase falling, then the head like screaming, rolling out. I was like, this is definitely like you're living in your best Italian horror movie life.
I disagree, because I don't know. I've come to realize that maybe I just don't like giallos. So you say giallos, I know, just vomit. but no, I get what you're saying. One thing that I thought was like pretty cool as well. This is the car crush scene. I really like Mia Goth's makeup leading up to it, like, you know, where she has almost like the visor.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be like an iconic Halloween look this year. I don't really have much more to say about it other than the weird like pink makeup on her face.
We'll have to quiz Gill at some point and find out, is she going to be dressing up as this for Halloween? Because I do feel you. I think Maxine is going to be like a top Halloween costume.
Yeah, she has a lot of good like wardrobe changes and whatnot in this movie, like her green coat as well. Like that feels like kind of iconic. That's slightly harder to do, but very 80s fashion, very like loud fashion that I thought was quite fun. I guess for spoilers, I wasn't expecting this movie to be about the capital T, which all of our now slayings seem to always be about trauma. I didn't actually expect the character of Maxine Minx to be having kind of like trauma over the events of X, and then also like Kevin Bacon investigating her as like the private detective, or the PI, the private investigator, who's like also working with the Night Stalker and kind of like stalking her. That was... Well, this is revealed not to be the Night Stalker at the end, but it was like a weird wrinkle to this that I was almost exhausted right off the bat, where it's one of the early scenes where I think she's like pouring her heart out, like performing or whatnot, and they were like, oh, you need to really dig in your past trauma. And I was like, oh no. I was like, grown. A24, we gotta find a new thing to make horror movies about.
Do you think
not
that was
everything can be about trauma?
Note? They read it and then they came. We're like, we have one note. There needs to be some trauma in here.
She needs to have flashbacks to X so Colton can remember it, because he doesn't remember when, I don't know, this person's head got blown off in the barn, you know, or whatever it is. I thought for me it was just like some of that stuff was a little bit inconsistent. It seemed like almost like more front loaded with a lot of the trauma and like flashback stuff, or like that scene where they're getting the mold made of her head, which I thought was kind of cool. I liked that scene, and it was all like goopy and kind of weird, where I was like, man, getting like a face cast would suck. Back then they don't even give you like the straws to breathe out of your nose, right? It was just, I don't know. It was a kind of a harrowing scene. But apart from the trauma, the third act of this movie, I was going into the third act like, okay, this is a vibe. It's good. It could be great. Let's see how this all comes together. And I will say the third act of this movie, I think, might just be
Bad.
I really didn't like it. The third act I thought was bad.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
I felt the exact same way. I was like, anything you kind of had built that I was interested in, any threads, I just think it totally drops the ball. It turns into just a totally different movie. Like, it doesn't even feel like the same movie. I'm like, all these vibes are just gone. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it just feels like washed. Like, it's just like, this is just kind of a whatever movie. We're into this like cult thing with her dad. The dad is wild.
I cracked up laughing when they did like the cut and you see like the cult with all their faces painted, but they're also like, you know, on a movie set, you know, like filming. You got like the cult member with his face painted holding a boom mic and the camera up there, and you got, you know, the one guy like standing over here for like eyeline, all this stupid shit. I was just like, all right, now we're in some really campy, weird territory that you're kind of starting to lose me. And then you're losing me even more when, like, Bobby Cannavale bursts out with his gun and starts shooting, and then Michelle Monaghan runs out and starts shooting. And literally this A24 movie that they've been building vibes for the past, like, hour and 20 minutes just erupts into, like, a firefight, like, of almost like a police movie. And once again, that's where, like, the noirness of this movie comes in. But even, like, most noirs don't end in a firefight with, like, 20 people. And also very poorly filmed firefight, might I add. When I was watching it, I was like, this is why A24 doesn't do action movies, or at least outside of like Everything Everywhere. But like that's not really like what they're known for. And then Ty West is like, nah, I'm gonna throw in like a crazy firefight at the end of this movie where everyone's just getting shot. And I was just like, this isn't what I signed up for. And I would say most audience members, that was not what they signed up for. But yeah, getting back to her father, I kind of liked him, weirdly enough. I don't know why. It's a very big, over-the-top performance, but it was giving me televangelist, which I thought was, you know, I don't know, kind of interesting.
I can give it, he's definitely sleazy enough. And, you know, like, I did chuckle at the fact that, you know, it's like, he's talking all this God stuff, and then, like, you're really just seeing that, you know, he just wants to be famous and everyone to know who he is, and he's just, like, all of his speeches were, like, really bad and corny, and I don't know, I think I just didn't like it, just because, like I said, my vibes were ruined by then, so...
It's crazy how hard of a shift this movie takes, where it's just, like, MaXXXine is, like, trying to, like, you know, put pressure on Bobby Cannavale's wound to keep him alive, and then Michelle Monaghan's rushing out near the Hollywood sign because she's been, I don't know, stabbed in the eye or something like that, and I'm with a crucifix, and I'm just like, what is on the go here? It's like shitty True Detective like happening here, and like, you know, I mean, like shitty like season 1 True Detective where, you know, there was actually like some firefights and stuff. It was just like baffling the way it went. I think I kind of like where it ultimately ends, / you know, I like the helicopter hovering overhead as she's kind of trying to decide if she's gonna, like, you know, shoot her father, and we get kind of like what I interpret as like almost like this alternate reality where she's, you know, gonna be like going on talk shows and gonna be like really popular and all this stuff, but like then she's like, nah, screw it, I'm just gonna be MaXXXine Minx and I'm gonna blow this guy's head off and I'm still gonna have a career in Hollywood because that's how grimy that industry is.
Yeah,
I like that. I thought that was all right. The headshot, I think he was going for, he was like, you know what, I want there to be another iconic headshot other than Scanners, was the vibe I got. It was literally like an exploding head that you could tell that they had to isolate and probably do it in a you know, God, in a studio, in a hangar. Anyways, away from set. You could tell like they built this like multiple times and like exploded it multiple times to try and get the right effect. It felt very like artificial to me, but it almost feels like ripe for like a GIF other than it being like horrific. Obviously. What do you think about the ultimate ending of where it wound up?
Oh, geez.
Well,
this is a first.
Listeners, Gill has joined the show. We're talking about the exploding headshot near the end of the movie. We're well into the spoiler discussion. Is there anything that you want to talk about, Gill, before we rate the movie?
Are you joking?
I'm joking. We're almost done. We've been going for like 40 minutes.
Well, it's not my fault you guys have a secret Discord channel that I don't know about.
No girls allowed.
We've already shit on you, by the way, as well, because we were like, Jill scored
Oh.
this like 5 stars on Letterboxd, and she can't even show up to talk about this movie she liked so much. So here's
you
your time.
know, I thought it was fucking awesome.
All right, let's
You know,
kick
when
her from the call, Rowan. No, just
No. When Oppenheimer came out
Oh,
and all
no.
you men were like really excited, this is how excited I was for MaXXXine, and it didn't disappoint. The gore was fantastic. The kills and the violence was fantastic. Did you guys already talk about your favorite kills?
we talked.
And
Yeah,
or-
I think so. Yeah, I talked
Okay.
about the suitcase is
All
what
right.
I liked, and what did you say,
Okay,
Rowan? Again,
okay.
I was asleep.
The car crush.
Car crush. There we go.
Okay.
What did you like, Jill?
Okay, I gotta start from the very beginning with the testicle, with the heel. That was amazing.
You would think
people in my
that.
theater were like audibly upset. Like everyone was like, "Ah!" So it was kind of awesome to
All the
experience
men
that.
stormed out.
All the men were just like, "Ah!" But I don't know. The crowd at the theater I went to was very vocal with like all the kills and like laughing at the funny and campy stuff. So it was a really nice experience for me. I felt like it was very communal in a way. But anyway, yeah, the testicle, amazing. I love that she made him, the guy that was like trying to kill her. I love that she made him strip, get on his knees, suck the gun, and then stabbed his little testicles with her big heels. Amazing. And I just felt like, this is going to sound super stupid, but I felt so empowered.
Felt so empowered.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
no.
like,
Oh,
hell
wow.
yeah, girl, get it. And then the part where that guy that's like following her in the car,
That guy, like his name isn't Kevin Bacon.
like Kevin Bacon being the biggest creep ever is my favorite part of this as well as him running around on the back lot, chasing Mia Goth. Amazing.
We didn't talk about that very much, Rowan. We completely ignored all the backlot stuff, running through like the Western world, or going to the Psycho house and seeing like old Mia Goth inside of the house and all that. We ignored all that.
That was so cool because when I saw the trailers, I was like, how are they going to get Bates Motel and then Night Stalker and like this big mishmash of things in here? But it all makes sense, like, in the back lot. Love the set. Love that they put that in there. Very cool, like running and hiding scenes there. Kevin Bacon is the best dirtbag ever. When Kevin Bacon gets keyed in the face, amazing.
I like she's just repeating.
No, I'm not
everything
done. I
we
want to talk about
discussed
it
already.
I'm not done.
Are you going to talk about how that look that she was wearing, with the red makeup going across, is going to be like an obvious Halloween costume as well? We're going to get into that, or
That could be dicey because you could be Mia Goth or you could be Marilyn Manson in like his Mechanical Animals era. So it's dicey about who's going to recognize you for that. But anyway, I want to go back to that kill. Sorry if I'm repeating myself, but when she stuck the keys out in her fist, that's just like something every female is familiar with doing, like when you're walking home at night
or
alone.
the way
Yeah.
that I attributed it to Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad.
different
Interesting.
different lived experiences here, obviously.
Very different.
Well, apart from the rest of the feminist vibe of this, I thought that was really cool.
Do you think that's why Colton hated the movie?
Did Colton hate the movie?
No,
I missed so
did.
much.
We haven't got to that part yet. You rudely
Yeah, I
interrupted.
don't know if I hated the movie.
I'm
I
still
never. I was
gushing
getting there. We
over
were
this.
almost there.
Okay. All right. The guy in the video store, that kill was amazing. That's probably my favorite kill.
I think the knife across the back of the neck looked bad as an effect, but I did think it was an effective kill
Yeah,
overall.
it was fine. I
Yeah.
love when the earring got
I
ripped
have
out.
a weird thing about that kill, which I feel like Jill will say is a good thing because I know she likes these movies. But when I saw that kill, I don't know why, but all I could think about is I was like, this kind of just seems like a kill that would be in Fear Street. Like, I was just like,
I love Fear Street.
I know you do. And I don't know. I just, you missed it, but I discussed my love. Like, Leon was my favorite character in this whole thing. And I wanted more for him. For the guy that loves horror movies,
Yeah.
he deserves something more than just like the generic giallo gloved knife killer kill. He should have got like something epic, like a car crush or something. A
You
head
said the G word.
explosion.
Did you guys talk about Giallo?
Oh, well, I'm
We
always
did.
talking about
Okay.
Giallo.
All
Come
right.
on now,
All right.
Jill.
And about
Well-
how I said that I probably don't like it. And whenever we talk about Giallo now, I just vomit in my mouth.
Just love the lighting and the colors and everything. So good. Also, Halsey and Lily Collins made me so happy.
I'm still embarrassed. I attributed Lily Collins' death to the little girl that was playing young Maxine in the movie.
Oh my god.
It was funny because I was like, I recognize this actress, but like, I don't remember that being her name. Anyways,
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, when you watched Emily in Paris, clearly.
Yeah. When
Big
I watched
Emily in Paris
Emily
guy.
Paris, yeah.
But I have a question. I was kind of, I was thinking about the build up to this movie, MaXXXine, the triple X. It's, we knew MaXXXine, we're going from Pearl to the 80s. We're going into like seedy underworld, porn world. A pretty sexless movie for a movie about the porn industry. Like, I'm thinking specifically like X was full of like nudity and sex. It was about making adult films. And not just that, but like I thought X also had these themes of porn actors like kind of being normalized and like not like, there's still people with aspirations and dreams and they're, they do this job because some of them are good at this job, whatever. Where with this one, I was like, I understand it's about her, trying to get into the actual Hollywood
Trying to
system.
get rid of the stigma,
Yeah.
trying to leave that behind.
But I
Yeah.
just felt like it was almost marketed wrong in the fact that I was like, oh, we're going to go into like this Hollywood seedy underworld. And I was like, it is like a pretty sexless movie. Like there's Maxine exudes sexuality, but almost no one else in this film does. And I just, I was interested in that take on it. Like it was just kind of an odd thing.
I agree.
Right.
It's also really front loaded.
Yeah.
Any of like the sex and the boobs and whatnot. It's all within the first 20 minutes, and then we're just into this noir movie, which is what we were talking about, Jill. About you never mentioned about how you love the police, procedural stuff, and following Michelle Monaghan and Bobby Cannavale as they're doing all this investigation, or the huge firefight with 20 people just shooting pistols at each other at the end of this horror movie.
That was fucking awesome. That was fucking awesome.
Okay, well,
We would expect no less.
agree to disagree.
When that like cult member guy or whatever got like stabbed in the eye in the pool, I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome."
but that's not the firefight. What about the firefight?
Firefight.
The shooting, they kill like 20 people in this
yeah.
really shitty, like poorly shot firefight. That should be out of like an episode of CSI.
I was into it. I was into the whole movie. I was vibing.
She was vibing.
I was vibing. It was.
The vibes were
great.
heavy.
Rowan, I feel like we discussed everything. Jill probably hasn't discussed everything, but I also
fine.
can't hold our listeners hostage.
It's okay.
Just to
okay.
hear us talk about, Kevin Bacon getting keyed in the face a third time.
Shut your mouth.
Next time, show up to the recording, on
Next
time.
don't have a secret Discord room.
I love the chaos this episode is just presenting to listeners.
I could have just not came.
I love
and
it.
it would have been a chill episode.
I like how, like, I have no notes. I was just going, like, off rip. We were just vibing. We were just chatting. It was very conversational for, like, the first 35 minutes. Like, this is a pretty good discussion. Then Jill comes in, and it's chaos.
I love
But-
it. Fantastic. Give me 14 of them.
But if you're new to the podcast, our review rubric is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Jill, I'm going to let you start so you can kind of ramble on a little bit more about, what else you really liked about this movie. So what would you give MaXXXine?
Yeah, I already spoiled it on Letterboxd, as you guys saw, but it's a motherfucking slay for me. And this might be a little sacrilegious, but I think this might be my favorite in the trilogy, with X following and Pearl after. I just really loved all the gore. I loved how empowering it was for MaXXXine. Mia Goth fucking killed it. And also, I really like the scene where she's like casting her head and she gets all freaked out.
We also talked about that,
Yeah,
too.
I'm sure you did. Also, really like the suitcase scene. That's all I'm gonna say.
What
It's a
about
slay.
the scene with the keys?
Yeah, and the scene with the keys. Oh, and also when Dee Snider's like in the very opening in court. I thought that was great.
Yeah, we didn't bring that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally some, new territory. Rowan, what would you give this?
I think this is a tough one. I this might be sacrilege.
Be honest, be true to yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm going in with an okay on this one.
Oh my God.
Now, I will say, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show, I came in cold on X. I came in cold on Pearl. And I have noticed that my first time watches with most of Ty West's movies, I'm usually not impressed. Usually when I see them again, like X really grew on me and I was like, oh, wait a second, like this bangs. I like X. Pearl, I haven't visited it enough. I've only seen it the once in theater to, say, is that the case with that? But yeah, with this, I think, kind of like we've said the whole time, like maybe this is a good crime noir movie. I don't know, because I don't really watch crime noir movies, so I don't know what to really compare it to.
It's not a good crime noir movie.
I don't think it's a amazing horror movie. I think it lacks horror in most sections of it. Like I said, I think there's lots of cool, gnarly deaths in it that will kind of give you that fix, but I think the overall story, I just think especially compared to X and Pearl, like this is something totally different, and to me, it's just like an outlier of this, what we've all been saying, trilogy. I don't know why, because Ty West has already announced that they're working on a fourth one now, so this is no longer a trilogy. We're like in the franchise territory now, which I don't know. Maybe shoot me now. I'm not sure. We'll
what the fuck?
We'll find out. But I'll give it an okay. And like I said, it had Sean 80 vibes. I thought a lot of that stuff worked. I like opening credits were the best part, as I continue to say. What about you, Colton? What would you rate it?
I'm really torn on this because
you want to piss Gill off.
Well, yeah, I mean, she joined and I don't want to piss her off, so I got to be gentle. But no, it was the sort of thing where I really liked the first 2/3 of this movie. I was hoping that the third act would all bring it together, whereas I think the third act almost like ruined it to a certain degree, other than literally like the last, 2 minutes I thought was pretty good. It was just like all that, the MaXXXine being predicated on just like this detective story shootout nonsense, and almost like how hilarious like the cult of the filming and all that stuff was. It just kind of really took me out of it, where I was really vibing with it up until that point. But I don't know if it's enough to get it to an okay. I'm probably in the middle of you guys. I'd give it a very, very light yay. I would say it's teetering on being my least favorite of the three, though. X is definitely my favorite. Pearl, I feel like, is harder to rewatch than this movie still, but also like this is just messier to me. I don't know if I liked it trying to be a noir and dealing with trauma again from the fallout of X, and then having like some slasher or some like gore in it. I just feel like it wasn't really a good noir. It wasn't really a good horror. It wasn't a good character study of trauma. It was a mixture of all three. And once again, I was really hoping it would all come together and, really kill it in the end. But like the ending of Pearl is like so seared into my brain that I think that's like awesome. A lot of X, I remember just loving like the vibe and a lot of the kills. I'm thinking that it felt unique with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, as I mentioned in the opening. This, I don't know where it falls into. If I want to get like this fictional Hollywood story that kind of mixes with real life murder, I'm going to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Quentin Tarantino before I watch this. And yeah, I just don't like where it winds up. So it's probably a gentle yay for me. Could be an okay with more reflection. I literally got into the theater like an hour ago, so I'm not sure 100% on this one. But if you're not following us on our socials, you can do so at It Slays Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky. If there's a social media, we're probably there at It Slays Podcast. And if you want to help support the show financially, like our horror hounds, Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, Stephen, Joy, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show Stream Screams, hosted by Gill, where she actually shows up on time and host the show, you know, and get episodes of the main show 48 hours early. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslays podcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Rowan, you liked some of the needle drops here. Anything making the podcast playlist?
I mean, I really want to put Give Me All Your Love in, but then, like I said, are people going to be like, why is this guy putting the soundtrack to the Santa Claus on this horror playlist?
Yeah.
But if you're not doing so already, and you're a little late to the party like Gill, go to Spotify to the It's Lays podcast, horrific playlist. You can go to any of the social media Colton just mentioned, go in the bio, click the Linktree link, it'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from iconic horror movies we review, or just horror movies we love. So follow the playlist, get your spooky music on, because why the hell not?
Also, before I announce what we're reviewing next on the show, if you want to see a movie about like a woman who's swallowed up by Hollywood and it's actually like horrific, check out Starry Eyes. That's a good movie.
That is a great movie.
Yeah,
also
that's
Neon
a good watch.
Demon. But anyway.
Well, I was talking about good movies, Jill. Neon Demon also came up earlier in the show, so you really got to listen to the first 30 minutes of this episode. But next time on the show, we're going to be covering Longlegs. Jill, are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I don't know if
cool.
I'll be here, though.
Yeah, cool. She'll probably pop in 40 minutes into the recording or something like that. And with that, I think that about wraps things up this episode. So until next time, I'm Colton.
I'm Rowan.
Bye.
And as long as you keep listening, we'll keep slaying.